Have you ever felt that gut-wrenching feeling of betrayal? The kind that claws at your insides and leaves you breathless? I'm about to tell you a story that will make your blood run cold, a story of family, greed, and a fortune hidden in plain sight. It's a tale of how my own children, blinded by their insatiable hunger for money, unknowingly sold their mother's most cherished possessions for a mere pittance. Possessions that held the key to an $8 million Bitcoin wallet. Yes, you heard that right. $8 million. This isn't just about money though, it's about disrespect, about trampling on the memory of a woman who dedicated her life to her family. Eleanor, my wife, was a force of nature, a brilliant mind trapped in a world that often failed to appreciate her genius. She saw the potential in technology long before most, investing in Bitcoin when it was still a fringe concept. And she, ever the enigmatic storyteller, hid the access codes, the key to her digital kingdom, within the pages of her diaries. Diaries that my children, James and Chloe, dismissed as worthless junk. They saw me, a retired literature professor, as an old fool clinging to the past, a burden to their modern, fast-paced lives. They couldn't comprehend the depth of my love for Eleanor, or the significance of her journals. To them, they were just old notebooks taking up space, clutter in the way of their inheritance. Their inheritance. As if Eleanor's life, her legacy, could be reduced to a simple financial transaction. The irony is almost unbearable. So, here I was, a grieving widower, facing the ultimate insult. My children, the very people I had dedicated my life to raising, had desecrated their mother's memory in their desperate pursuit of wealth. They thought they were being clever, efficient, ridding themselves of unwanted baggage. But they had unleashed a sleeping giant, a man fueled by grief, anger, and a burning desire for justice. This isn't a story of revenge, not exactly. It's a story of reclaiming what was lost, of honoring Eleanor's memory, and teaching my children a lesson about the true value of things. It's about showing them that some things are worth more than money, that family, love, and respect are treasures that cannot be bought or sold. I knew Eleanor wouldn't want me to wallow in despair. She would want me to fight, to use my intellect, my understanding of her brilliant mind, to right this wrong. Join me as I unravel this intricate puzzle, as I embark on a treasure hunt hidden within the pages of Eleanor's diaries. Follow me as I expose the shallowness of my children's greed and restore the legacy of a truly remarkable woman. This is a story about more than just Bitcoin, it's about the battle between material wealth and the immeasurable value of human connection. And trust me, the ending is something you won't see coming. Are you ready to see how it all unfolds? Let's begin. Are you ready to see how it all unfolds? Let's begin. The sting of their betrayal, selling Eleanor's diaries for a paltry sum, resonated deeper than any financial loss. It was an assault on her memory, on the very essence of what made her so extraordinary. $20. That's all they thought her life's work, her intimate thoughts, were worth. The anger welled up, a bitter tide threatening to drown the grief I was already struggling to contain. But beneath the anger, a cold calculation began to form. They sought to exploit sentimentality, a quality they deemed worthless, and in doing so, they had unwittingly handed me the key to their undoing. I remember Eleanor's words, spoken with a mischievous glint in her eyes, "All our futures lie in your stories." For years, I interpreted it as a testament to the power of narrative, to the enduring legacy of literature. Now, the true meaning struck me with the force of a revelation. She wasn't just speaking metaphorically, she was speaking literally. She had hidden the key to her fortune, our future, within the pages of those diaries, disguised within her words, her poems, her life. The frustration was immense. I was in my late 60s, retired, my days meant for quiet contemplation and tending my garden. Now, I was thrust into a high-stakes treasure hunt, racing against time, against the very children who should have been my allies. The determination, however, burned brighter than the frustration. I owed it to Eleanor, to her memory, to myself, to unravel this intricate puzzle she had left behind. The thrift store was a chaotic jumble of forgotten treasures and discarded memories. The air hung heavy with the scent of mothballs and dust. I felt a surge of relief when I found the stack of diaries, tucked away in a forgotten corner. They were still there, untouched, unwanted by anyone else. It was a small victory, but a victory nonetheless. Back home, surrounded by Eleanor's words, I began the arduous task of deciphering her code. Each page was a piece of the puzzle, each entry a breadcrumb leading me closer to the truth. Her handwriting, once so familiar and comforting, now felt like a cryptic language I had to relearn. There were highlighted words, underlined verses, circled dates, seemingly random markings that held a deeper significance. Days turned into nights as I immersed myself in her world, reliving our shared memories, our inside jokes, our intellectual sparring. It was a painful process, a constant reminder of my loss, but also a powerful affirmation of our enduring connection. Slowly, painstakingly, the pattern began to emerge. The highlighted words formed a poem, a riddle that spoke of hidden meanings and digital keys. The underlined verses pointed to specific dates, dates that corresponded to significant events in our lives. The circled dates, when combined, revealed a sequence of numbers. Eleanor had always been fascinated by cryptography, by the art of encoding and decoding messages. We used to create our own secret codes for fun, elaborate systems of substitution and transposition. Now, I realized that she had taken our playful games to a whole new level, creating a complex cipher that protected her digital fortune. The poem, the dates, the numbers, they all converged, pointing me towards the 24 words of the recovery phrase, the key to her Bitcoin wallet. I felt a surge of adrenaline as I typed the words into my computer, my heart pounding in my chest. The wallet opened, revealing a balance of over $8 million. A wave of relief washed over me, followed by a profound sense of sadness. Eleanor was gone, but her legacy, her brilliance, lived on. The trial was yet to come. Confronting James and Chloe with their avarice, their callous disregard for their mother's memory, would be a test of my own resolve. I knew that they wouldn't understand, that they would only see the money, not the story behind it. But I also knew that I had to try, that I had to teach them a lesson about true value, about the things that truly matter in life. I invited them to my home, the home they were so eager to sell. They arrived with their lawyers, their spreadsheets, their eyes fixed on the bottom line. I placed a single piece of paper on the table, a printout of my Bitcoin account statement. "Here's the value of the notebooks you sold for $20, I said, my voice calm but firm. "Your mother left a legacy, not for those who know the price of everything and the value of nothing." Their faces paled as they realized the magnitude of their mistake. The money was gone, their inheritance squandered on their own short-sightedness. I didn't give them a penny. Instead, I used Eleanor's fortune to establish the Eleanor Croft Foundation, a foundation that funds young female writers and technologists, ensuring that her spirit of innovation and creativity would live on. I continued to live in our home, surrounded by her books, her diaries, her memories. The money was a bonus, a means to an end, but the true reward was knowing that I had honored her legacy, that I had protected her memory from those who sought to exploit it. Tolerance and reconciliation? Perhaps, one day. But for now, I found peace in knowing that Eleanor's story, our story, would continue to inspire generations to come. Remember, the true value lies not in what you can sell, but in what you cherish. But for now, I found peace in knowing that Eleanor's story, our story, would continue to inspire generations to come. Remember, the true value lies not in what you can sell, but in what you cherish. And what I cherished most was Eleanor's spirit, her unyielding belief in the power of words and ideas. The irony, of course, was almost unbearable. My own children, the very flesh and blood of the woman who breathed life into those diaries, had dismissed them as worthless clutter. They saw only the faded covers, the yellowed pages filled with her looping handwriting. They couldn't see the universe contained within, the intricate tapestry of thoughts, dreams, and coded secrets that Eleanor had so meticulously woven. The anger still simmers, a low, constant flame beneath the surface of my carefully constructed calm. How could they be so blind? How could they fail to recognize the immeasurable value of their own mother's legacy? The calculation that followed their betrayal was cold and precise. I knew I couldn't let their actions go unaddressed. Not for the money, though the $8 million was certainly a significant sum, but for Eleanor. Her memory deserved more than a shrug and a hasty sale. It deserved justice. And justice, in this case, meant making them understand the magnitude of their mistake. The frustration I felt while deciphering Eleanor's codes was immense. Days bled into nights as I pored over the diaries, searching for the hidden patterns, the subtle clues she had so cleverly concealed. It was like she was speaking to me from beyond the grave, guiding me through the labyrinth of her mind. There were times when I wanted to give up, to succumb to the overwhelming sense of loss and despair. But Eleanor's voice, her indomitable spirit, kept me going. I could almost hear her whispering, "Don't let them win, Samuel. Don't let them diminish what we built together." The trial that followed, though unspoken, was severe. I watched James and Chloe, studied their reactions, their justifications, their desperate attempts to minimize their actions. I saw their greed, their shallowness, their complete lack of understanding of what truly mattered. It was a painful realization, a confirmation of my deepest fears. The tolerance I once held for their flaws began to erode, replaced by a cold, hard judgment. But then, something shifted. As I looked at them, at the faces of my children, I saw not just their failings, but also their potential. I saw the years of love and care that Eleanor and I had poured into them, the hopes and dreams we had held for their futures. And I realized that revenge, however satisfying in the moment, would ultimately be a hollow victory. The calm that settled over me in that moment was profound. I understood that the true purpose of Eleanor's legacy was not to punish my children, but to inspire them. To teach them the value of empathy, of understanding, of cherishing the things that truly matter in life. The Eleanor Croft Foundation became my way of extending her reach, of ensuring that her spirit of creativity and innovation would continue to touch the lives of others. It was a way of transforming their careless act into something meaningful, something that would honor Eleanor's memory and inspire future generations. I didn't give them the money, but I gave them something far more valuable, a chance to learn, to grow, and to become better versions of themselves. And in the end, that was the greatest victory of all. The reconciliation wasn't immediate, and the scars of their betrayal may never fully heal. But there was a glimmer of hope, a sense that they were beginning to understand the depth of their mistake. Perhaps, one day, they would truly grasp the immeasurable value of the legacy they had so carelessly discarded. Perhaps, one day, they would understand that the true treasures in life are not material possessions, but the memories, the relationships, and the stories that shape us into who we are. The story of Eleanor, the story of our family, continues, not as a tale of loss and regret, but as a testament to the enduring power of love, forgiveness, and the unwavering belief in the human spirit. Perhaps, one day, they would understand that the true treasures in life are not material possessions, but the memories, the relationships, and the stories that shape us into who we are. The story of Eleanor, the story of our family, continues, not as a tale of loss and regret, but as a testament to the enduring power of love, forgiveness, and the unwavering belief in the human spirit. But the path to that understanding, for James and Chloe, was paved with the harsh reality of their actions, a reality I, in my grief and anger, had orchestrated. The irony wasn't lost on me. I, a man of books and quiet contemplation, had become a calculating strategist, driven by a pain so profound it threatened to consume me. My children, blinded by their superficial pursuits, had unwittingly triggered a transformation in their father, a sleeping giant awakened by their callous disregard. I felt a chilling calm descend as I plotted my next move, a calm born of righteous fury and a steely determination to make them understand the magnitude of their transgression. The look on their faces when they saw the Bitcoin account statement was a masterpiece of incredulity and dawning horror. The pragmatic stockbroker, James, his face usually a mask of controlled composure, was now a canvas of disbelief. Chloe, the lifestyle blogger, always so meticulously curated in her appearance and online persona, stood speechless, her carefully constructed facade crumbling before her eyes. They had traded their mother's legacy, a treasure trove of wisdom and love, for a paltry sum, and the weight of that realization was crushing them. My words, though delivered with a controlled severity, were laced with a profound sadness. "Your mother left a legacy," I said, my voice resonating with a quiet power, "not for those who know the price of everything and the value of nothing." It was a lesson they desperately needed to learn, a lesson etched in the pain of my loss and the consequences of their actions. I saw a flicker of understanding in their eyes, a glimmer of recognition that perhaps, just perhaps, they had finally grasped the depth of their mistake. The aftermath was a period of strained silence and awkward attempts at reconciliation. They tried to apologize, their words clumsy and inadequate, but I knew that the true test of their remorse would lie not in their words, but in their actions. I didn't seek revenge, I sought understanding. I wanted them to see the world through Eleanor's eyes, to appreciate the beauty and the value that lay hidden beneath the surface. My decision to establish the Eleanor Croft Foundation was not an act of spite, but an act of love. It was a way to honor Eleanor's memory, to ensure that her spirit of creativity and innovation would continue to inspire future generations. It was also a way to teach my children a valuable lesson, that true wealth lies not in material possessions, but in the positive impact we have on the world. The foundation became a beacon of hope for young female writers and technologists, providing them with the resources and support they needed to pursue their dreams. Eleanor would have loved it. Living out my days in the family home, surrounded by Eleanor's books and the echoes of our shared laughter, I found a measure of peace. The pain of her loss never truly faded, but it was tempered by the knowledge that her legacy lived on, not only in the foundation, but also in the hearts of those who knew and loved her. And perhaps, in time, even in the hearts of my children. Forgiveness is a complex and often agonizing process. It's not about condoning the actions that caused the pain, but about releasing the bitterness and resentment that can consume us. I don't know if James and Chloe ever fully understood the depth of their transgression, but I chose to offer them a path to reconciliation, a chance to learn from their mistakes and to become better versions of themselves. Whether they chose to take that path was ultimately up to them. The story of the diaries, the Bitcoin, and the foundation is more than just a tale of loss and redemption. It's a reminder that the things we value most in life are often the things we take for granted, the love of family, the beauty of nature, the power of stories. It's a call to cherish those things, to protect them, and to share them with the world. And it's a stark warning about the dangers of superficiality and the importance of looking beyond the surface to discover the true treasures that lie within. So, remember to cherish your memories, value your relationships, and never underestimate the power of a good story. You never know, it might just hold the key to a fortune, or something far more valuable. So, remember to cherish your memories, value your relationships, and never underestimate the power of a good story. You never know, it might just hold the key to a fortune, or something far more valuable. But what happens when that value is lost, carelessly discarded, and the pain of that loss is compounded by the betrayal of those closest to you? That's the question Samuel Croft had to face, a question that resonated with a bitterness he never thought possible. The diaries, you see, weren't just old notebooks filled with scribbled thoughts. They were Eleanor's life, her heart laid bare on paper. Each page held fragments of their shared history, whispered secrets, inside jokes, and the very essence of the woman he loved. To him, they were priceless. To James and Chloe, they were clutter, obstacles in the path to their inheritance. Their actions weren't just a careless mistake, they were a deliberate act of disregard, a painful demonstration of their inability to understand the true value of anything beyond its monetary worth. The anger, a cold, simmering rage, threatened to consume him. How could they be so blind? So callous? Years he had spent nurturing them, guiding them, and they had grown into these creatures driven by greed and superficiality. He felt a profound sense of failure, not just as a husband who had lost his wife, but as a father who had failed to instill in his children the values he held dear. The irony wasn't lost on him. He, a literature professor, surrounded by the wisdom of ages, had raised children who couldn't see the wisdom in a single handwritten page. But amidst the anger, a flicker of determination ignited. He wouldn't let their ignorance define Eleanor's legacy. He wouldn't allow their greed to tarnish her memory. He would use their actions, their blatant disrespect, as fuel to reclaim what they had so carelessly thrown away. He would show them, not with shouting or accusations, but with a calculated, precise execution of a plan that would expose the depth of their folly. The thrift store purchase was just the beginning. The real work lay ahead, deciphering Eleanor's intricate code. Days turned into weeks as Samuel immersed himself in the diaries, poring over every word, every mark, every seemingly insignificant detail. He remembered their games, the secret languages they invented, the puzzles they created for each other's amusement. It was a journey back in time, a bittersweet reunion with the woman he loved, even as the frustration mounted. There were moments of despair, times when he doubted his ability to crack the code, when the weight of his grief threatened to overwhelm him. But then he would find a familiar phrase, a shared memory, and the flame of determination would rekindle. The moment he finally pieced it together, the 24 words of the recovery phrase shimmering on the page, was a moment of pure triumph. He had done it. He had unlocked Eleanor's secret, not just the financial fortune, but the deeper treasure of her mind, her spirit, her love. The power he felt wasn't just financial, it was the power of knowledge, the power of understanding, the power of love that transcended even death. Inviting James and Chloe to the house was a calculated move, a carefully orchestrated confrontation. He knew what they expected, a capitulation, a surrender to their demands. He savored the look on their faces when he presented them with the Bitcoin account statement, the realization dawning that they had thrown away millions for a mere $20. There was no shouting, no recriminations. Just a quiet, powerful statement of fact. He had won. They had lost. Not just the money, but something far more valuable, their mother's legacy, and their father's respect. He didn't need the money. Eleanor had always been philanthropic, and he knew she would want her wealth used for good. The Eleanor Croft Foundation was his way of honoring her memory, of ensuring that her spirit of creativity and innovation lived on. It was a legacy far greater than any sum of money, a testament to the enduring power of love, memory, and the written word. He lived out his days in the house filled with her memories, surrounded by the books they both loved, knowing that he had not only reclaimed her fortune, but had also taught his children a harsh but necessary lesson about the true value of things. He hoped, one day, they would understand. So, what's the takeaway? It's simple. Don't be like James and Chloe. Don't let greed and superficiality blind you to the real treasures in life. Cherish your memories, value your relationships, and never underestimate the power of a good story. Because sometimes, the greatest fortunes aren't found in bank accounts, but in the pages of a diary, waiting to be discovered. Cherish your memories, value your relationships, and never underestimate the power of a good story. Because sometimes, the greatest fortunes aren't found in bank accounts, but in the pages of a diary, waiting to be discovered. It's a painful irony, isn't it? That the very things we often discard as sentimental clutter can hold the keys to unimaginable wealth, both literal and metaphorical. My children, James and Chloe, driven by their own ambitions and blinded by their perceived practicality, saw only old notebooks when they carelessly sold their mother's diaries. They couldn't fathom the depth of Eleanor's mind, the intricate tapestry of thoughts and emotions woven into those pages. Their frustration with my obsession with the past fueled their actions, a calculated move to force me into selling the family home, the last tangible link to the woman we both loved and revered. The anger still simmers, a low, persistent burn beneath the surface of my grief. To think that they could so easily dismiss something so precious, something that represented the very essence of their mother, it's a betrayal that cuts deep. But anger alone is a destructive force. I had to channel it, to transform it into something productive, something that would honor Eleanor's memory and, perhaps, teach my children a lesson they desperately needed to learn. The plan began to take shape, a blueprint of justice fueled by a mixture of sorrow and steely resolve. I would reclaim what they had so carelessly discarded, not for the money itself, but for the principle, for the preservation of Eleanor's legacy. The thrift store became my battlefield. I felt a surge of relief, a brief flicker of hope in the darkness, when I saw the stack of diaries still sitting on the shelf. The calm that washed over me was deceptive. Beneath the surface, a storm of emotions raged. I bought them back, each one a precious artifact, a fragment of Eleanor's soul. The following days were a blur of memories, of whispered conversations with a ghost. I pored over each page, deciphering her cryptic notes, her highlighted passages, her seemingly random doodles. It was like piecing together a complex puzzle, a game we used to play when we were younger, but this time, the stakes were infinitely higher. Eleanor, ever the brilliant strategist, had hidden the seed phrase, the key to her Bitcoin fortune, within the pages of her diary. It was a test, a challenge designed to reward those who truly understood her, who appreciated the beauty of language and the power of connection. The underlined verses of poetry, the circled dates, the seemingly insignificant words scattered throughout the text, they were all clues, breadcrumbs leading me down a path of intellectual discovery. It was frustrating, at times, agonizingly slow, but I refused to give up. I owed it to Eleanor, and I owed it to myself. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, the pieces began to fall into place. I recognized the pattern, the code we had created together years ago, a playful system of substitution and illusion. The poem emerged, line by line, a testament to our love and a roadmap to her hidden treasure. I meticulously transcribed the 24 words, the recovery phrase that would unlock her digital vault. The moment I accessed the cryptocurrency wallet, a wave of emotions crashed over me, grief, triumph, anger, and a profound sense of connection to Eleanor. The confrontation with James and Chloe was inevitable. I invited them to the house they so desperately wanted to sell, the house filled with Eleanor's memories. They arrived, smug and expectant, anticipating a victory. Instead, I presented them with a piece of paper, a printout of the Bitcoin account statement. The look on their faces was priceless. The severity of their actions finally dawned on them. "Here's the value of the notebooks you sold for $20, I said, my voice calm but firm. Your mother left a legacy, not for those who know the price of everything and the value of nothing." The silence in the room was deafening. They had made a terrible mistake, an irreversible error in judgment. They lost more than just money, they lost a connection to their mother, a chance to understand her true worth. They didn't get a penny, and frankly, they didn't deserve it. I didn't keep the money for myself. Eleanor wouldn't have wanted that. I used it to establish the Eleanor Croft Foundation, a foundation dedicated to supporting young female writers and technologists, the very field she championed. It was a fitting tribute to her memory, a way to ensure that her legacy would continue to inspire future generations. I remained in the house, surrounded by her books, her photographs, her diaries, the tangible reminders of a life well lived and a love that transcended time. The calm after the storm was a quiet peace, a sense of fulfillment knowing that I had honored Eleanor's memory and, in some small way, taught my children a valuable lesson about the true meaning of wealth. It was tolerance and reconciliation, not with them, but with the pain. The calm after the storm was a quiet peace, a sense of fulfillment knowing that I had honored Eleanor's memory and, in some small way, taught my children a valuable lesson about the true meaning of wealth. It was tolerance and reconciliation, not with them, but with the pain. The anger, a constant companion since Eleanor's passing, began to recede, replaced by a weary acceptance. It wasn't forgiveness, not yet, perhaps not ever. What they had done, selling those diaries, it was a violation, a desecration of something sacred. But I understood, in a way, their blindness. They saw only old books, clutter to be cleared away. They didn't see the love, the laughter, the shared dreams etched into every page. they didn't see Eleanor. My initial reaction, of course, was pure, unadulterated rage. The kind that makes your vision blur and your hands tremble. I wanted to scream, to lash out, to make them feel the immensity of their mistake. But Eleanor wouldn't have wanted that. She was always the voice of reason, the calming presence in our lives. So, I channeled that anger, that burning frustration, into something productive, finding the diaries and deciphering their secrets. It became a mission, a desperate race against time, not just to recover the Bitcoin, but to reclaim a piece of Eleanor that they had so carelessly discarded. The irony wasn't lost on me. My children, so eager to divide the fortune, had unwittingly thrown away the key to it. They, the supposed financial whizzes, the ones who scoffed at my antiquated ways, had missed the most valuable investment of all, Eleanor's mind. And now, they would face the consequences of their short-sightedness. My calculation was cold, precise. They would not see a single Satoshi. This wasn't about punishing them financially, it was about teaching them a lesson about the true value of things, the things that money can't buy, memories, love, legacy. The trial was internal, a battle fought within the confines of my own grief-stricken heart. Could I truly reconcile with their actions? Could I ever look at them the same way again? The severity of their offense weighed heavily on me. It wasn't just the money, it was the disrespect, the utter lack of understanding. It was the feeling that they had dismissed Eleanor, reduced her life's work to mere rubbish. This realization cut deeper than any financial loss. But then, I remembered Eleanor's unwavering belief in the power of redemption. She always saw the good in people, even when they struggled to see it in themselves. And so, I decided to use the Bitcoin, not for personal gain, but to honor her memory in a way that would benefit others. The Eleanor Croft Foundation would be her legacy, a testament to her brilliance and her compassion. It would fund young female writers and technologists, empowering them to pursue their dreams and make their own mark on the world. The look on James and Chloe's faces when I presented them with the printout of the Bitcoin account statement was priceless. Shock, disbelief, and then, a dawning realization of the magnitude of their mistake. They understood, finally, that they had underestimated their mother, that they had failed to see the true value of her life's work. There were no apologies, no pleas for forgiveness, just a stunned silence. And in that silence, I found a strange sense of peace. I didn't need their validation. I didn't need their remorse. I had honored Eleanor's memory, and that was enough. The house remained mine, filled with her books, her paintings, her memories. It was a sanctuary, a place where I could still feel her presence, where I could still hear her laughter. And as I sat in her garden, surrounded by the flowers she had loved, I knew that she would be proud. The money meant nothing compared to the principle. The frustration I initially felt transformed into a quiet determination. I was determined to show them, not through words, but through actions, the profound difference between price and value. I was determined to ensure that Eleanor's legacy lived on, not as a Bitcoin wallet, but as a beacon of hope for future generations of women. And in that determination, I found a renewed sense of purpose, a reason to keep going, even in the face of unimaginable loss. So, what's the takeaway here? It's not just about Bitcoin or lost fortunes. It's about recognizing the true value of the things that matter most, family, memories, and legacy. Don't be so quick to dismiss the bold or the unimportant. You never know what hidden treasures they may hold. Take the time to listen to your elders, to cherish your memories, and to build a legacy that will last long after you're gone. Because in the end, that's all that truly matters. And please, share this story. Maybe it will help someone else see things a little differently, before it's too late. And please, share this story. Maybe it will help someone else see things a little differently, before it's too late. Because believe me, regret is a heavy burden to carry, a constant companion that whispers reminders of what could have been, should have been. It's a relentless tormentor, especially when it stems from the actions of those you love, those you've nurtured and guided, only to see them stumble blindly into a pit of their own making. My children, James and Chloe, they are a testament to this bitter truth. They saw my grief as weakness, my attachment to Eleanor's memory as an inconvenience. Their impatience, their insatiable hunger for immediate gratification, it blinded them to the true wealth that surrounded them, the intangible treasures that Eleanor had carefully woven into the fabric of our lives. They couldn't comprehend the value of a handwritten note, a faded photograph, a worn book filled with underlined passages. To them, these were just relics of a bygone era, clutter to be discarded in their relentless pursuit of the new and shiny. The irony is almost unbearable. They, who prided themselves on their financial acumen and their savvy understanding of the modern world, were utterly incapable of grasping the true meaning of value. James, the stockbroker, focused solely on the numbers, the fluctuating markets, the fleeting opportunities to amass wealth. Chloe, the lifestyle blogger, chased fleeting trends, seeking validation in the fleeting likes and comments of her online followers. Neither of them possessed the capacity to appreciate the enduring power of love, memory, and legacy. The sale of Eleanor's diaries for a mere $20 was not just a careless act, it was a profound betrayal. It was a dismissal of her life's work, her innermost thoughts, her very essence. It was a declaration that her stories, her dreams, her wisdom, were worthless. And that, more than anything, fueled my anger, my determination to make them understand the magnitude of their mistake. My plan was not about revenge, not really. It was about justice, about forcing them to confront the consequences of their actions. It was about teaching them that true wealth lies not in the accumulation of material possessions, but in the preservation of memories, the cherishing of relationships, and the recognition of the inherent value in every human life. The moment I saw the printout of the Bitcoin account statement on the table, their faces were studies in disbelief. The reality of their blunder crashed down upon them with the force of a tidal wave. The smugness, the self-assurance, it all vanished, replaced by a dawning horror that was almost comical in its intensity. I could see the calculations running through their minds, the frantic attempts to salvage the situation, to somehow undo the irreversible. But it was too late. The money was gone, not in the sense that it was spent, but in the sense that it was beyond their reach, dedicated to a purpose far greater than their selfish desires. The Eleanor Croft Foundation, it was Eleanor's true legacy, a testament to her belief in the power of women to shape the future through words and technology. It was a tangible expression of her values, a beacon of hope for aspiring writers and innovators. The foundation became my purpose, my way of honoring Eleanor's memory and ensuring that her spirit would live on. It was a source of solace and fulfillment, a constant reminder of the beauty and meaning that can be found even in the face of profound loss. And so, I lived out my days in the house we had shared, surrounded by the tangible reminders of our life together, the books we had read, the photographs we had taken, the memories we had created. The garden, once a shared passion, became my sanctuary, a place where I could connect with nature and find peace in the simple rhythms of the earth. James and Chloe, they never truly understood. They remained trapped in their own self-centered worlds, forever haunted by the knowledge of what they had lost. But perhaps, in some small way, their experience served as a cautionary tale, a reminder that true value cannot be measured in dollars and cents, but in the intangible treasures of the heart. And perhaps, that is a lesson worth sharing. So, please, take a moment to reflect on your own life, your own values. What truly matters to you? What legacy will you leave behind? Don't wait until it's too late to appreciate the things that truly matter. Cherish your memories, nurture your relationships, and recognize the inherent value in every human life. It's a lesson they learned the hard way, a lesson that cost them dearly. Don't let it cost you too. It's a lesson they learned the hard way, a lesson that cost them dearly. Don't let it cost you too. Their mother, Eleanor, wasn't just a woman who kept diaries, she was a brilliant mind, a visionary who saw the future in technology and the power of words. James and Chloe, blinded by their own ambitions and a superficial understanding of wealth, dismissed her passions as quaint, outdated relics. They saw only the price tag on the house, the potential profit, not the immeasurable value of the memories and knowledge contained within those seemingly insignificant notebooks. Samuel, on the other hand, understood. He lived and breathed Eleanor's world. He knew her quirks, her favorite poems, the secret codes they created just for fun. He recognized the glint of mischief in her eyes when she hinted at the Bitcoin investment, the way she carefully underlined certain passages, the dates she circled with such deliberate precision. To him, the diaries weren't just paper and ink, they were a map to her soul, a testament to her genius, and, ultimately, the key to her hidden fortune. The irony is almost unbearable, isn't it? James, the stockbroker, the man who prided himself on his financial acumen, missed the biggest investment opportunity of his life, literally throwing away millions for a measly $20. Chloe, the lifestyle blogger, so obsessed with appearances and fleeting trends, failed to recognize the authentic, enduring value of her own mother's story. Their arrogance, their blatant disregard for their father's feelings and their mother's legacy, blinded them to the truth. You might be thinking, well, they deserved it. And perhaps they did. But Samuel's triumph wasn't about revenge. It wasn't about punishing his children for their greed and short-sightedness. It was about honoring Eleanor's memory, about preserving her legacy, and about ensuring that her vision lived on. The anger he felt, the burning resentment at their callous disregard, slowly transformed into a steely determination. He wouldn't let their ignorance define Eleanor's life or diminish her contributions. The calculation was meticulous. Samuel, fueled by grief and a fierce love for his late wife, approached the task with the precision of a scholar and the passion of a devoted husband. He revisited their shared memories, deciphered the hidden messages, and pieced together the intricate puzzle Eleanor had created. It was a race against time, a desperate attempt to reclaim what had been so carelessly discarded. The frustration was palpable, the weight of their actions pressing down on him with each passing hour. But amidst the frustration, there was also a sense of calm, a quiet power that emanated from his deep connection with Eleanor. He knew her. He understood her. And he was determined to see her vision fulfilled. He wouldn't allow their petty squabbles over money to overshadow the true value of her life's work. The trial was severe, a test of his patience, his intellect, and his unwavering love. He had to relive painful memories, confront his own grief, and navigate the treacherous waters of his children's indifference. And then, the breakthrough. The highlighted words, the underlined verses, the circled dates, they all coalesced into a coherent narrative, a poem that revealed the 24-word recovery phrase. The moment he accessed the cryptocurrency wallet, a wave of emotions washed over him, relief, vindication, and a profound sense of connection with Eleanor. He had done it. He had honored her memory and secured her legacy. The confrontation with James and Chloe was not a moment of gloating or triumph. It was a somber occasion, a stark reminder of their failings. The printed statement, displaying the millions they had so carelessly dismissed, served as a powerful indictment of their values. He didn't yell, he didn't berate them. He simply presented the facts, allowing the weight of their actions to sink in. Samuel's decision to establish the Eleanor Croft Foundation was a testament to his character, a powerful act of reconciliation. He channeled his anger and grief into something positive, something that would benefit future generations. He used Eleanor's fortune to support young female writers and technologists, empowering them to pursue their passions and make their own mark on the world. It was a fitting tribute to a woman who believed in the power of stories and the potential of technology. He chose tolerance and understanding over bitterness and resentment. Ultimately, the story is a reminder that true wealth lies not in material possessions, but in the memories we create, the relationships we nurture, and the legacies we leave behind. It's about recognizing the value of things that cannot be measured in dollars and cents. It's about appreciating the wisdom and insights of those who came before us. And it's about ensuring that their stories continue to inspire and guide us long after they are gone. It's a call to action to look beyond the surface, to cultivate empathy, and to cherish the things that truly matter in life. Don't let greed and short-sightedness blind you to the real treasures that surround you. Learn from James and Chloe's mistake, and invest in the things that truly have lasting value: love, knowledge, and the power of human connection. Don't let greed and short-sightedness blind you to the real treasures that surround you. Learn from James and Chloe's mistake, and invest in the things that truly have lasting value: love, knowledge, and the power of human connection. Their story, born from pain and culminating in a bittersweet victory, serves as a stark reminder that true wealth isn't measured in dollars and cents, but in the depth of our relationships and the legacy we leave behind. Now, let's delve deeper into the nuances of this complex situation, dissecting the motivations of each character and the ripple effect their actions created. Consider James and Chloe, blinded by the allure of immediate gratification. Their pragmatic, almost callous, approach to their mother's belongings stems from a fundamental misunderstanding of their father's grief and the intrinsic value of memories. They saw only old notebooks, clutter to be discarded in the pursuit of a quick profit. Their ignorance, fueled by impatience, led them to discard a treasure trove of sentimental and financial worth. It's a harsh lesson in the dangers of valuing the superficial over the profound. Their actions, driven by a desire to divide the fortune, ironically resulted in them receiving nothing, a fitting consequence for their lack of empathy and foresight. Samuel, on the other hand, embodies a quiet strength, a resilience forged in the crucible of grief. His initial despair, the pain of discovering his children's betrayal, is palpable. He's a man who cherishes the past, finding solace in the echoes of his late wife's voice within the pages of her diaries. His transformation from a grieving widower to a determined seeker of justice is both inspiring and heartbreaking. He channels his pain into a meticulous intellectual pursuit, deciphering the intricate puzzle Eleanor left behind. His deep understanding of his wife's mind, their shared history of playful codes and intellectual games, becomes his greatest weapon. His revenge, if we can even call it that, is not about malice, but about teaching his children a valuable lesson about the true meaning of legacy and the importance of respecting the past. It's a calculated act of severity, born from frustration and fueled by a desire to honor his wife's memory. Eleanor, though absent, is the driving force behind the entire narrative. She was a visionary, ahead of her time, embracing technology and investing in Bitcoin when it was still a nascent concept. But more importantly, she was a woman who understood the power of stories, the enduring value of words. She cleverly hid the key to her fortune within her diaries, knowing that only someone who truly understood her, someone who valued her mind and her memories, would be able to unlock its secrets. Her act is a testament to her belief in the power of love, knowledge, and the enduring bonds of family. She leaves behind a legacy not just of financial wealth, but of intellectual curiosity, creativity, and a deep appreciation for the human spirit. The climax of the story, the moment Samuel reveals the Bitcoin account statement to his stunned children, is both satisfying and poignant. It's a moment of triumph for Samuel, a vindication of his love for Eleanor and his belief in the power of her legacy. But it's also a moment of profound regret for James and Chloe, a stark realization of their irreversible mistake. They are left to grapple with the consequences of their actions, the knowledge that their greed and short-sightedness cost them not only a substantial fortune but also a deeper connection to their mother's memory. Ultimately, Samuel's decision to establish the Eleanor Croft Foundation is the most powerful and meaningful act of all. He chooses to use the money, not for personal gain, but to support aspiring female writers and technologists, ensuring that Eleanor's spirit of innovation and creativity lives on. He transforms a potential source of bitterness and resentment into a force for good, creating a lasting legacy that honors his wife's memory and empowers future generations. It is tolerance and reconciliation embodied. So, what can we take away from this tale of lost fortunes and rediscovered values? The story serves as a potent reminder to cherish the intangible treasures in our lives, the love of family, the wisdom of experience, and the enduring power of human connection. Don't let the allure of quick riches blind you to the true wealth that surrounds you. Invest in relationships, cultivate knowledge, and honor the memories of those who came before you. Because in the end, it's not about how much money you have, but about the legacy you leave behind. Consider the story of Samuel, James, and Chloe and ask yourself, what kind of legacy will you create? What stories will you tell? And what values will you pass on to future generations? The choice, ultimately, is yours. And what values will you pass on to future generations? The choice, ultimately, is yours. But let me tell you, that choice isn't always easy. My story, well, it's a testament to that. It's a story of loss, betrayal, and ultimately, a strange kind of justice. It all began with Eleanor, my wife, a woman whose brilliance was only matched by her eccentricities. She saw the future before anyone else, an early adopter of technology, a visionary in her own right. Years ago, she invested in Bitcoin, a move I initially dismissed as one of her whimsical adventures. I was a literature professor, lost in the pages of classic novels, while she was navigating the digital frontier. After Eleanor passed, I found solace in her diaries. They were more than just chronicles of her life, they were blueprints of her mind, filled with her thoughts, her dreams, her fears. James and Chloe, my children, never understood. To them, the diaries were just clutter, old notebooks taking up space in a house they were desperate to sell. Their impatience, their relentless pursuit of immediate gratification, blinded them to the true value of things. They saw only dollar signs, failing to recognize the emotional and intellectual wealth that surrounded them. The irony is, they were so focused on dividing a fortune they hadn't earned, they unknowingly threw away the very key to it. Their casual disregard for their mother's memory, their callous disposal of her personal belongings, it was a wound that cut deep. "They're just old notebooks, Dad," James had said, his voice dripping with condescension. "Who has time to read them?" That sentence, it echoed in my mind, fueling a quiet rage, a burning determination to prove them wrong. It wasn't just about the money, the millions Eleanor had stashed away in that digital wallet. It was about honoring her legacy, about teaching my children a lesson they desperately needed to learn. A lesson about respect, about patience, about the enduring power of love and memory. So, I embarked on a treasure hunt, a journey into the labyrinth of Eleanor's mind. I reread her diaries, line by line, searching for clues, for the hidden message she had so cleverly concealed. It was like piecing together a puzzle, each highlighted word, each underlined verse, a piece of the larger picture. Frustration mounted as days turned into weeks, but I refused to give up. I knew Eleanor wouldn't have wanted me to. She had always believed in me, in my ability to decipher her cryptic messages, in my unwavering devotion to her memory. The key, I realized, was in her poetry, in the verses we used to recite to each other during our courtship. She had encoded the 24-word recovery phrase within her favorite poems, a testament to her love for language and her understanding of its power. With trembling hands, I typed the phrase into the digital wallet, and there it was, the proof of Eleanor's foresight, the culmination of her years of investment. Millions of dollars, sitting there, waiting to be claimed. The confrontation with James and Chloe was bittersweet. They arrived at my house, expecting me to finally cave in, to agree to sell the house and divide the proceeds. But I had a different surprise in store for them. I placed a piece of paper on the table, a printout of my Bitcoin account statement. The silence that followed was deafening. I watched as the realization dawned on their faces, the understanding of the magnitude of their mistake. The notebooks they had sold for a mere $20 held the key to a fortune beyond their wildest dreams. "Here's the value of the notebooks you sold for $20, I said, my voice filled with a mixture of anger and sadness. "Your mother left a legacy, not for those who know the price of everything and the value of nothing. They didn't get a penny. Some might call me cruel, vindictive even. But I believe Eleanor would have approved. The money wasn't meant for them to squander on fleeting pleasures. It was meant to make a difference, to support those who shared Eleanor's vision, her passion for knowledge and innovation. So, I established the Eleanor Croft Foundation, dedicated to funding young female writers and technologists, ensuring that her legacy would live on, inspiring future generations to pursue their dreams, to embrace their creativity, to never underestimate the power of a good story. I continued to live in our home, surrounded by her books, her diaries, her memories. The money provided security, of course, but the real treasure was the knowledge that I had honored Eleanor's memory, that I had remained true to her values. And perhaps, just perhaps, James and Chloe learned a valuable lesson that day. A lesson about the importance of family, about the enduring power of love, and about the true meaning of wealth. It wasn't about the money, it was about the values. And what values will you pass on to future generations? The choice, ultimately, is yours. And what values will you pass on to future generations? The choice, ultimately, is yours. But consider this, a life lived solely for profit, for fleeting material gain, is a life ultimately empty. My children, James and Chloe, learned that lesson the hard way, through a series of events that still sting with the bitter taste of regret and a father's profound disappointment. Their actions, born from impatience and a shallow understanding of worth, unleashed a torrent of emotions within me. Anger, yes, a burning rage at their disrespect for their mother's memory, for the tangible pieces of her life that held immeasurable sentimental value. But beneath the anger lay a deeper pain, a grief compounded by their callous disregard. It was as if they were selling off pieces of Eleanor herself, reducing her complex and vibrant life to a mere monetary figure. The irony of the situation wasn't lost on me. They, in their pursuit of financial security, had carelessly discarded the very key to a fortune they desperately craved. I watched, with a detached amusement masking a simmering fury, as they dismissed Eleanor's diaries as rubbish, oblivious to the intricate web of clues she had woven within their pages. Their ignorance was their undoing, a testament to their inability to see beyond the surface. My calculation began then, not as a vengeful plot, but as a necessary act of justice, a way to honor Eleanor's legacy and teach my children a lesson they would never forget. The calmness that settled over me was not one of peace, but of controlled power. I knew what I had to do. Eleanor had always been a woman of foresight, a visionary who embraced technology long before it became mainstream. Her investment in Bitcoin, a then obscure cryptocurrency, was a testament to her forward-thinking mind. And her decision to hide the seed phrase, the key to unlocking that digital fortune, within her diaries was a challenge, a game she designed for me to play. The frustration I felt in those early days was immense. Each diary page was a labyrinth of memories, a chaotic jumble of thoughts and emotions. I pored over them, hour after hour, fueled by coffee and a burning determination to decipher Eleanor's code. There were moments of despair, when I questioned my ability to succeed, when the weight of grief threatened to overwhelm me. But then, I would remember Eleanor's unwavering belief in me, her constant encouragement to embrace challenges, and I would find the strength to continue. The trial was a grueling one, a test of my intellect, my patience, and my love for Eleanor. The highlighted words, the underlined verses, the circled dates, they were all pieces of the puzzle, fragments of a poem that only I could understand. It was a journey back in time, a reliving of our life together, with all its joys and sorrows. And as I pieced together the clues, I felt Eleanor's presence beside me, guiding me, encouraging me to keep going. The severity of the lesson I intended to impart weighed heavily on me. I knew that revealing the truth about the Bitcoin wallet would be a devastating blow to James and Chloe. But I also knew that it was necessary. They needed to understand the true value of things, the importance of respecting memories, and the consequences of their actions. It was not about the money, but about the principle. The confrontation was difficult, a painful reminder of the chasm that had grown between us. Their shock and disbelief were palpable as I presented them with the printout of the Bitcoin account statement. The realization of their irreversible mistake washed over them, leaving them speechless and ashamed. I saw a flicker of understanding in their eyes, a glimmer of remorse for their actions. In the end, I chose tolerance and reconciliation. I didn't want their inheritance to be a source of further division and resentment. Instead, I used Eleanor's fortune to create a foundation in her name, a foundation that would support young female writers and technologists, honoring her legacy and empowering future generations. It was a way to transform their mother's passion into something tangible, something that would continue to inspire and uplift others. The house remained my home, a sanctuary filled with memories of Eleanor. I lived out my days surrounded by her books, her paintings, and her diaries, a constant reminder of her love and her unwavering belief in the power of stories. And as I sat in my garden, tending to the flowers she loved, I knew that I had done the right thing. I had honored her memory, taught my children a valuable lesson, and created a legacy that would endure long after I was gone. The choice is yours, and only yours, to decide what legacy you will leave behind. Will it be one of fleeting gain, or one of lasting value? The choice is yours, and only yours, to decide what legacy you will leave behind. Will it be one of fleeting gain, or one of lasting value? And believe me, I know the sting of fleeting gain all too well. My children, James and Chloe, they epitomized it. They saw the world through a lens of immediate gratification, a lens that blurred the lines between price and value. Their mother, Eleanor, she tried to teach them the difference. She filled their heads with stories, with poems, with the kind of knowledge that doesn't appear on a stock ticker or a fashion blog. But they were too busy chasing the next big thing to listen. The irony, of course, is that Eleanor left them a fortune. Not in stocks, not in real estate, but in Bitcoin. A digital treasure, hidden in plain sight, woven into the very fabric of her journals. Journals they dismissed as old notebooks. Journals they sold for $20. $20. The rage, the sheer, burning rage I felt when I discovered what they had done, it was unlike anything I had ever experienced. It was a betrayal, not just of me, but of Eleanor's memory, of everything she stood for. But beneath the anger, a strange calm settled over me. A scholar's calm. Eleanor had always loved puzzles. We used to create them for each other, intricate riddles woven into poems and stories. And I knew, with a certainty that defied logic, that she had done the same with her Bitcoin wallet. The seed phrase, the key to her digital fortune, it wasn't hidden in a bank vault. It was hidden in her words. So I began my hunt. Frustration gnawed at me. Days turned into nights as I pored over those diaries, each page a memory, each word a potential clue. I saw her handwriting, her thoughts, her dreams. I relived our life together, the good times and the bad. It was a torment, a beautiful torment. The determination hardened within me. I had to find it. Not for the money, not for myself, but for Eleanor. To prove that her legacy was more than just a number in a bank account. James and Chloe, they didn't understand. They saw my obsession with the diaries as another sign of my senility. They kept pressuring me to sell the house, to move on. Their impatience was a constant irritant, a reminder of their shallowness. "Dad, it's just money," James said one day. "Let's not get sentimental about it." Sentimental? I almost laughed. They had no idea what they had thrown away. The trial was severe. Each dead end, each failed attempt to decipher Eleanor's code, was a blow to my heart. I began to doubt myself. Had I overestimated my ability to understand her? Had she made the puzzle too difficult, even for me? But then, a breakthrough. A highlighted word in a poem, a circled date in a journal entry, a seemingly random underline in a verse. They began to connect, to form a pattern. A pattern that led me to the 24 words of the recovery phrase. The moment I accessed the wallet, the relief was overwhelming. It wasn't just about the money. It was about proving that Eleanor's words, her stories, her legacy, had real value. It was about showing James and Chloe the depth of their mistake. I invited them over, pretending to finally concede to their demands to sell the house. They were practically giddy with excitement. But when they arrived, I didn't hand them a contract. I handed them a piece of paper. A printout of my Bitcoin account statement. Here's the value of the notebooks you sold for $20, I said, my voice calm but firm. Your mother left a legacy, not for those who know the price of everything and the value of nothing. They were speechless. The realization of their folly, the sheer magnitude of their loss, it hit them like a physical blow. They didn't get a penny. I didn't need the money. I used it to establish the Eleanor Croft Foundation, a foundation dedicated to supporting young female writers and technologists. It was Eleanor's dream, and I was determined to make it a reality. Reconciliation? Perhaps, one day. But first, they need to understand the true cost of their actions. They need to learn that some things are more valuable than money, that a legacy is built on more than just fleeting gains. The value of a life, of a story, of a dream, that is the true treasure. That is the legacy that endures. And that is the lesson I hope my children will eventually learn. Leave behind something real. Leave behind something meaningful. Leave behind something that will last. Because in the end, that's all that truly matters. Okay, here's the continuation of the script, aiming for approximately 1,000 words, maintaining the requested tone, and following all instructions. So, I left you with a promise, didn't I? A promise that what truly matters is what you leave behind. Eleanor understood that implicitly. James and Chloe, blinded by the allure of immediate gratification, utterly failed to grasp it. The irony, of course, is that they were so focused on getting something, they threw away the very thing that would have secured their future. The sheer, breathtaking stupidity of it still makes my blood boil, even now. Their mother, she wasn't just a woman who wrote in diaries. She was a force of nature, a whirlwind of intellect and compassion. She saw possibilities where others saw only limitations. She dreamt of a world where technology empowered women, where stories could change lives. And she put her money where her mouth was, investing early in Bitcoin, not as a get-rich-quick scheme, but as a means to fund her vision. And those diaries, they weren't just filled with sentimental musings. They were a roadmap to her soul, a testament to her genius, and, yes, a meticulously crafted puzzle box holding the key to her digital fortune. Each highlighted passage, each underlined verse, each circled date, they were breadcrumbs, leading me, the only one who truly understood her, on a desperate chase. The frustration I felt when I realized what they'd done was almost unbearable. The sheer disrespect, the casual dismissal of something so sacred, it was like a punch to the gut. But beneath the anger, a steely determination began to form. I had to find those diaries. I had to decipher her code. I had to honor her memory. And, yes, I had to make them understand the magnitude of their mistake. The thrift store, it felt like a lifetime ago. The musty smell of forgotten things, the rows upon rows of discarded memories. I rifled through the boxes, my heart pounding in my chest, each second an eternity. And then, there they were. Stacked haphazardly, almost mocking me with their unassuming covers. I paid the pittance they asked, a mere $20 for a treasure beyond measure. The next few days were a blur of grief and exhilaration. I sat in my study, surrounded by Eleanor's words, her spirit alive in every sentence. I reread her favorite poems, the ones we used to recite to each other under the starry sky. I revisited the inside jokes, the silly codes we'd created for fun. And slowly, painstakingly, the pieces began to fall into place. The highlighted words formed a poem, a riddle wrapped in layers of meaning. The underlined verses pointed to specific dates, anniversaries, significant moments in our lives. The circled dates corresponded to entries in her journals, entries that spoke of her hopes, her dreams, and her investment in Bitcoin. It was all there, laid out with the precision of a master strategist. And then, the moment of truth. The 24 words, the recovery phrase, the key to unlocking her digital vault. I typed them in, my hands trembling, my heart pounding. And there it was. $8 million, staring back at me from the screen. A legacy, a testament to Eleanor's vision, and a stark reminder of my children's folly. The confrontation, it was difficult. I invited James and Chloe over, knowing full well the storm that was about to break. They arrived, smug and self-assured, expecting me to finally cave and sell the house. They were so confident, so sure that they had won. I placed the printout on the table, the Bitcoin account statement, the evidence of their monumental error. The silence in the room was deafening. Their faces, they were a study in disbelief, shock, and then, finally, dawning horror. "Here's the value of the notebooks you sold for $20, I said, my voice calm but firm. "Your mother left a legacy, not for those who know the price of everything and the value of nothing. They didn't get a penny. Not a single cent. Some might call it cruel, vindictive even. But it wasn't about the money. It was about the lesson. It was about teaching them the true meaning of value, the importance of respecting the past, and the enduring power of love and memory. I didn't use the money for myself. Eleanor wouldn't have wanted that. I established the Eleanor Croft Foundation, dedicated to funding young female writers and technologists, ensuring that her vision would continue to inspire generations to come. It was the only fitting tribute to her life and her legacy. I lived out the rest of my days in our home, surrounded by her books, her diaries, her spirit. The garden flourished, a testament to the love we shared. And I found peace, knowing that Eleanor's memory would live on, not just in my heart, but in the hearts of countless others. So, what's the takeaway here? What's the lesson I want to leave you with? It's simple. Don't be like James and Chloe. Don't let greed and short-sightedness blind you to the true value of things. Cherish your memories, respect the past, and always remember that what truly matters is what you leave behind. And maybe, just maybe, leave a little something behind that will inspire others to do the same. Because in the end, that's all that truly matters. Go out there and create your legacy. What will yours be? Okay, let's finish this story. Remember where we left off, Eleanor's legacy, the foundation, and the house filled with memories. Now, let's bring it home. So, the Eleanor Croft Foundation took off. It wasn't just about handing out money, it was about nurturing talent, about giving young women the space and resources to find their voices. Samuel, with his quiet understanding of literature and his newfound appreciation for the digital world Eleanor had embraced, became the perfect steward. He read every application, not just for the technical skill or the writing prowess, but for the spark of something more, that almost undefinable quality Eleanor possessed. He saw in these young women a reflection of his late wife's brilliance, her unwavering belief in the power of stories. And it was through them, through their successes and struggles, that Eleanor's spirit truly lived on. It was a bitter irony, wasn't it? That the very children who dismissed their mother's work as worthless, who valued possessions over memories, inadvertently paved the way for her true legacy to flourish. The pain of their betrayal never fully faded, but it was tempered by the joy of seeing Eleanor's vision realized. James and Chloe, of course, never quite recovered. The weight of their mistake, the knowledge that they had traded away their mother's fortune for a pittance, hung over them like a shroud. They tried, in their own clumsy ways, to reconcile with Samuel, but the trust was gone. The chasm between their materialistic worldviews and Samuel's newfound understanding of true value was too wide to bridge. They saw the money, the Bitcoin, as the ultimate prize, while Samuel saw it as a tool, a means to an end. The trial was internal, wasn't it? The severity of their own judgment against themselves. Samuel, in his own quiet way, had shown them the true cost of their actions. It wasn't just about the money they lost, it was about the connection they severed, the memories they devalued, the legacy they almost destroyed. He tolerated their presence, occasionally, at family gatherings. But there was a distance, a formality, that could never be erased. He offered them no money, no handouts. He knew that true learning came not from easy gifts, but from facing the consequences of their choices. It was a harsh lesson, perhaps, but one he felt was necessary. Eleanor, he believed, would have agreed. The reconciliation, if it could be called that, came slowly, tentatively. James, humbled by his financial failures, started to read, to actually engage with the world beyond spreadsheets and stock prices. Chloe, her lifestyle blog losing its luster, began to volunteer at a local women's shelter, finding a purpose beyond perfectly curated images. They were baby steps, faltering and unsure, but they were steps nonetheless. Samuel never explicitly forgave them. Forgiveness, he realized, was a process, not a declaration. He simply allowed them to find their own way back to a semblance of understanding, to a recognition of the values they had so carelessly discarded. He offered them glimpses into the Foundation's work, invited them to attend events, hoping that, in time, they might grasp the true meaning of Eleanor's legacy. So, what's the takeaway here? It's not just about Bitcoin or lost fortunes. It's about recognizing the inherent value in the things we often overlook, memories, stories, the wisdom of those who came before us. It's about understanding that true wealth lies not in material possessions, but in the connections we forge and the legacies we leave behind. It's about the dangers of short-sightedness and the enduring power of love and memory. Don't let the pursuit of fleeting riches blind you to the treasures that already surround you. Cherish the stories of your loved ones, protect the memories that shape you, and cultivate a sense of value that transcends the material world. What are you valuing in your life right now? Are those values truly aligned with what matters most to you? I challenge you to think about your own legacy. What kind of impact do you want to have on the world? What stories will be told about you long after you're gone? Go out there and create that legacy. Don't let it be one of regret, of missed opportunities, or of values misplaced. Let it be a legacy of love, of kindness, of purpose, and of enduring value. Share this video with someone who needs to hear this message. Let's start a conversation about what truly matters and how we can all live more meaningful lives. And most importantly, don't sell your mother's diary for $20.